write the minutes and then I
Okay.
just.
We don't have Karen here. She takes terrific minutes.
Yes, she does. She does.
Sorry, we're
Is
2
there
minutes
like-
behind.
That's
No,
okay,
it's-
we have
it's-
enough to talk about.
Can I?
So the deal will be that I'll put this up on YouTube in the next few days, so if you're anxious about what you said, you can watch it again. Second prize is two watchings.
It's Kevin and Shannon?
Shannon, yes.
Very good.
And you are
Brothers.
brothers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they own Pondview.
Yeah.
And they're here to talk to us about what they would like to do to it and discuss how we can make it happen.
Sure. Go now? All right.
Right.
So
Should we call the meeting to order?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't do that. I could have added the minutes down too, but I didn't. Okay. Call meeting to order 7:10. Okay. Thank you.
So we've been talking about redeveloping this property for a few years now. We came to one planning board meeting maybe about 10 years ago, and then just decided not to, just kind of let it sit. After that meeting, we just thought that maybe we'd let it sit for a bit. It's somewhat of an outlier for us to our core business, which is more Hanover. and-
Which is your, could you describe your business?
So-
What's up with you?
Our business is 100%, essentially almost 100% multifamily investment properties. So we have a portfolio of multifamily properties in Lebanon, West Lebanon, White River Junction, and Hanover.
You have some in Hanover then?
Yep. So we have a good sized portfolio right in Hanover, and, but our family's owned for 45, 50 years, since the 70s. and-
70s, I think.
Yeah.
I've been here 50 years, and you've been here 45 or 50?
Since 76.
76.
Yeah,
So
so-
we were here before you bought it.
There you go. So we've looked at it a couple different ways. We've been approached, I'd say recently, over the last few years, of people wanting us to redevelop it. And we've had a few different renderings, we've done some sketches on what we would build. And we've met with engineers out there to see, what would be, not just what's permitted, but what's realistic about what we could get built. And so now, we're trying to figure out, what do we want to build? What does the town want to support, in spirit out there? We don't really want an uphill battle on this, because quite frankly, it does pretty well. It's always full and it chugs along. We would like to make some improvements to it, but we've not acted on any of them because we weren't sure which direction. We talk about doing a major overhaul, and then we don't know, well, if we do that, that's kind of crazy if we end up doing this. And so we've been stuck there for 10 years probably on that property, on what, and it comes up every few months at meetings, what are we gonna do? And so we did a full, like I said, about 10 years ago, I think it was, we did a zone, like a very, 10,000 foot, zoning analysis, like what could we do and what are the things, and it's been emailed around, I think, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but this just we kind of wanted to see what the zoning would permit, and we were having problems with our printer, and that was one of the issues here tonight, so I apologize. That file got corrupt, but, and I can leave this with you or email it out, but really what it came down to is, there's a commercial component to our land that's larger, it's about 25 acres, I think. on the north side in the commercial district. So we looked at, you know, a 14,000 square foot building there, and, you know, we weren't really, you know, that was one of the options with a residential building on this end. Then we looked at single-family building lots through the site, and to be straightforward, you know, we're multifamily owners, and we would like to, in a perfect world, redevelop it into, you know, one-bedroom workforce housing, you know, nice, you know, solid, you know, rental property for.
In multifamily buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I wanna do is encourage you to tell us what's interesting to you as a building owner. Not necessarily shaping it by what the ordinance allows today.
Yeah.
Because
So keeping it, you know, obviously there's systems in place there. You know, the closer to the road we get, the easier it is for us to build it, you know, and so we would like, you know, it's always best to have everything under one roof. We could break it up.
I mean, just one roof and.
Yeah, I mean, when I say higher, I don't mean, you know,
We know what you mean,
but,
yeah,
right.
yeah, but just, you know, whatever we could get there, we would like to get under one roof. And whether that be, you know, I think right now we're permitted, we have 15, we can increase that by 50% by special exception. 23, whatever that is, whether we can get more than that, great, if not, you know, or we just keep the 15, you know.
Well, I think that what he had mentioned, well, first of all, we're trying to build without increasing taxes. I mean, we could take a half an hour to say that, but it wasn't announced there. And the other thing is, I think that we should look at things realistically, as he said, as Rick says, and not try to fit in, at least at this point, with rules and regulations and
Sure,
planning. You know, what makes sense, for example, senior housing might make sense.
Sure.
You know, could be under one roof and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe not raise taxes, so, but,
Well, as he said, one-bedroom housing for workforce housing. It's not gonna raise taxes either. That's not gonna contribute too many kids.
Well, I was gonna say, I think your timing is very good coming to chat with us, because we have just hired a consultant to do a visionary view of what Lyme A is, and then start a process of discussion where we will go to. And in that process, you could be part of it, so that we could all work together. You have, in your description of what you do, adds a dimension which we don't have. We don't really know the real estate market here. And what we do know that we have a positive and negative. We have a very good school. And so
That's what
whenever.
I hear, yeah.
Pardon?
That's what I hear, yeah.
And whenever a moderately priced place comes up open, people jump at it so they can send their kids to school. And as opposed to all the other schools in the whole Upper Valley, we're continuing to grow because people are coming in because our schools are good. And this, if you know the taxes in New Hampshire, the schools are a killer. I mean, that's what.
Well, I think one of the things, the other thing is the aging in place for people, a lot of us that are getting to the point where we don't wanna have houses we'd like to downsize
Yeah.
and something affordable and
Sure.
and convenient, so there's gonna be a big demand for that, and everybody's crying for it here in town. So that's another factor. I think, yeah, how we go forward with this is the question. What's the process for being able to accomplish something and find out what's going to be acceptable? Do we-
So our big, so from not talking any zoning, planning, any, our biggest, so we have a big rectangle here in probably our biggest issue will be sewer capacity.
Which is it's a major problem.
Major problem. We did meet with an engineer and they seemed to think there was enough areas where you could get a substantial system. And like if you really wanted to, you could build, like as you get a little higher on
Is
these
this a
shelves.
private owned or town owned, or what would you?
Right, I mean, it would be for the community here, and so I even talked to Dave a little bit, who was great, Dave Robbins, and, we were thinking outside the box a little bit, and he didn't agree to any of this, but I mean, do you go to the other side of the pond and build there, and then take down this, or do you leave it and renovate it, and, that serves a purpose, but you redo it so it, it's fresh and looks new and you square it. And you can share the existing sewer and then add on, so you don't lose that sewer capacity there, and then you can come up here. We just were getting a little just frightened with the site costs coming over onto the other side. There is, it's quite a bit, I mean, it's a lot of dry coming up this left side where the log landing is.
That's the west side of the road?
That is the
East.
east side of the road, north side of the property right here.
Okay.
So Crossroads is directly across the street.
Okay, all right. Well, one of the things that I really treasure your insights, you guys have this commercial sense of what's the market, how much would it cost to develop it, what things hamstring you. These are the kinds of things we wanna know,
Sure.
because if, we can't do anything about the economics. I
Yep.
mean, it'll cost whatever it costs to put a
Yep.
septic system in.
Yep.
But if the ordinance says, oh, no, you're gonna stand on your left foot and you can't do this and you can't do that, it's very easy for you to say, thank you very much, I don't need to do this.
Yep.
Where if the ordinance could be a little more easy to work with, and you say, oh, wait, you mean we don't have to do $100,000 worth of stuff to get
Sure.
around this one thing in the ordinance? I mean, because that's what we're looking at, what would it take to entice people to do more in town?
Yeah.
And so, this is really good insight for you to tell us, oh, yeah.
So I think community support is huge.
Yep.
So,
Well,
in
You
any
have an
town you want.
opportunity for that. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
so
trying to
that
say.
would be, so that's a big deal, to know that you want, something to be done.
I think the community has changed over the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and people are realizing that we've got to do something about the tax base.
Yep.
And they recognize the restrictions and the problems that have been covered, and they're probably aware of what just transpired with Brett Ryan and his property,
Yeah.
and the lawsuits, and it was the town that said, okay, let's change the zoning, and they came up with a zoning ordinance, a change, brought it to town meeting, and it was overwhelmingly adopted. So the community is there,
Okay, yeah. So
and I think that's,
beyond that, it gets a little over my head, it'd be more for our civil engineer, for a consultant to say, if you, your soils of X or whatever, however you look at that, because there's ways to get this stuff, to move it forward, and there's ways to,
Right, but I mean, one of the zoning things you just mentioned, that, well, you can only, you got 15 units now, you have a 50% increase. Well, that's just a zoning rule that seemed like a really good time in the 80s.
Yeah.
A really good idea in the 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a useful rule. I mean, and if you were to say, oh, we could absolutely make money at a project that wasn't just 50% larger, but
Sure.
200%,
Yeah.
larger, then
Right.
that's useful for us to know.
Yeah, sure.
The
So-
ordinance is hamstringing people from doing good stuff.
Density is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's so yeah,
I
so
know that, yeah.
it's just,
Mhm.
you know, that makes it that much more
Mhm.
affordable for anyone to go in if you're doing,
Mhm.
you know, and
How many tenants do you currently have?
we have 15 in that building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And ideally, you would have,
22, 23.
with the
Well,
current,
Current zoning, yeah,
that's not ideal.
That's.
right. Exactly, so that makes it tough to.
So you don't have to answer that question.
Yeah.
Can you describe current tenants in a sentence or two?
Sure, I mean, we have med students,
You have some graduate, you have some,
we have some town employees.
In the past, you used to have some of my employees, I would start with the printing company.
Okay.
And I know
Yeah.
sometimes people would start there
Yeah,
and then they would move on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's, your place is really a starter place.
sure, yeah, and it's, we have some studios where we've attracted, because of people forget we're 5 or whatever, 6 miles to Geisel, to the
Mhm.
medical school, or
Right.
8, whatever it is, and
Pretty
so it's
close.
really attractive,
Biking distance.
yeah.
the Dartmouth coach moving in, you know, assistant coach, is gonna be moving in, so.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's no question that there's a horrendous demand out there
Yep.
for housing.
5,000,
All types.
whatever it is.
It's more than that, it goes up, seems to go up by 1,000 every year, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that, whatever you build, they will come.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
keep the price down.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Yes.
know of somebody that's interested in selling some property, and they've been advised to cool it for a while because the housing in town is not moving very well right now.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of house?
Well, it's
All
not,
$1 million, $1.5 million?
No, it's
no,
even
some
smaller.
reasonable stuff. To take a particular case in point, Fred Phillips has got a very nice house. I don't know what he's asking for, but it's not an $umpteen million house, and he hasn't had any action at all. But, you know,
Well,
It's a real
these would
sensible
be
place.
apartments, rentals,
Yeah.
presumably,
Yeah.
which is be much more attractive for the transient population,
Mm-hmm.
the med center and the college.
But I think part of what we're gonna get out of our study is feedback on it.
Yeah,
Because we not only, we think of ourselves as this little island and everything about that, but whatever happens in Lyme also happens in Orford, Thetford, and so forth. And we have to put ourselves into the larger picture.
Yeah, and we do get quite a few, like, if we're gonna advertise an apartment for rent, it's not always in the Upper Valley, it's in, up north. So we
General,
don't-
general,
Yeah, Journal
Opinion.
Criminal.
Yeah, so that's where, there's some bigger employers up there that, in Rivendell School District, that,
But the jobs are down here,
sure.
and the people are up there right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we do attract, so people live here, some of them, they do commute north to work, because there's just not a lot.
now, in the
Paramount
operation
Cable.
that you have there,
Yep.
do you have families with kids in them?
At Bobby currently, no. Just thinking, there's one apartment, the gentleman works at the college, and the family lives out of state. So I think we visit,
Yeah.
but
Because
there's.
we might be able to learn something from that operation. In other words, they've been there before we have. And if the Pondview Apartments is not attracting families with 13 kids, you know, it's something, it's interesting to know the structure and how how the flow of tenants go through.
Well, the most devastating thing for Lyme is to have somebody move to town with a freshman in high school.
Right.
And they're paying $500 a month rent, and we're getting very little taxes, and we're paying $20,000 a year to send them to Hanover. If
Right, I don't
somebody
know if you-
lives here, they can, and so that's it's happening, we see it all the
That
time.
won't happen
Yeah, they-
with the
Oh, yeah.
proposed one bedroom.
Oh, yeah, because they actually live in Piermont, but one of the parents stays in that apartment so they can go to, I mean, this goes on all the time.
So-
We
so-
used to hire a 25, 30 years ago, a private eye to check where people were actually living. And
I don't know if
they-
you're, I
and they
don't know if
paid
you're
for
up on,
themselves.
yeah. I don't know if you're up on the situation, basically, Hanover, Lyme doesn't have a high school.
Sure.
So we've got about 100 high school age kids who tuition into Hanover, Thetford Academy or St. J. And so.
Or Hartford.
Right, and so the town pays the tuition to do that, and it's about 20K. So we got 100 kids at 20K apiece, so it's $2 million worth of revenue, of dough that goes to Hanover, these other schools. You can't run a high school on that, and so in some sense, Lyme gets a bargain, because they get these great schools where they can send their kids. But the fact is, every new high school student, every ninth grader that moves into town for 4 years costs us $20,000 each year.
And putting in perspective, my daughter has, she and her husband have 2 kids. And they're paying $3,000 or $4,000 a year in taxes. And the town is paying $40,000 a year to educate their kids over 8 years. So you do the math, that's 40 times 4 is $160,000. And they're paying, and they're getting $3,000 or $4,000, we're getting $3,000 or $4,000 in taxes. So it's something like 18 years to 20 years. So this is why we've gotta be, this is one of the frightening things when you start doing the economics of running a town with the laws of New Hampshire and all the other. So that's, just putting it, these are the things
Yeah,
that,
right.
if we would love not to have kids, but I know legally you can't do it.
Yeah, so we have a big law that we're regulated by,
Yeah,
called
oh.
fair housing, so we can't even talk about it.
Absolutely, right, exactly,
You know.
right. And so, I mean, this is all stuff we can say in the meeting. I mean, these are just facts, that you have fair housing laws that you have to
Yeah,
apply. And one of the major concerns of the town is, oh my God, is this gonna bring kids in to the school district? And the answer is, we need to understand the issues. As we've said, we've hired a consultant to help us figure out, okay, what do these various options bring?
I can tell
So-
you who are, who we think will live here
Mhm.
after.
That's useful,
So,
yeah.
so if we were to raise the building and build a new building, I can almost predict
Just, professional hospital
Yeah.
staff, college staff.
you would have, in a brand new units, you would have a lot of tuck students,
Yep.
I believe,
Medical school students.
medical school, I mean, that would probably,
Chew up a lot.
I mean, it would,
Nurse, nurse,
and then
staff
the
as well.
RNs that don't necessarily want to be in town, they want to be a few miles out,
Mhm.
close to ski, whatever, but for sure, that would
That would be ideal.
absorb
Yeah, that's
this
exactly
project
what-
overnight.
Yeah.
I have 2 small houses I rent.
Yeah.
Like these are 400 square feet and 700 square feet, and this is what we get.
Yep.
Or else the other is Dartmouth students who start in the high-tech businesses down by the hospital.
Yep.
I have, that's what I have right now.
Yep.
And I've had medical school students and,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
that's your market.
Well, the
Yeah,
other-
and we don't even, I mean, there's such a great demand for that, and the college,
Mhm.
you see they've looked at building some large facilities that didn't go through, they're still
Mhm.
planning, and So the fair school is probably even a greater demand than the
Yeah.
tuck school.
And they're growing fast.
Yeah, as I say, in the next 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So we either have to house pre-married people,
Well,
the
even,
workers,
you know-
or we have to take housing
Get
for
the
the
seniors.
seniors.
But.
Well, and the question, I mean-
The statistics have shown that the birth rate is way down. We're not replacing our population with newborns, we're replacing them with immigrants, or we used to.
Used to.
So, you know, that's, as Hannibal found out with the Guile operation. They had, what, 180 apartments, and they got 16 kids out of it, so, you know, I know everybody is still ingrained, that's a fear, you gotta bring in kids, we gotta have to build a new school. Even if it's not really that realistic. But, as you say, build it for this clientele, and they'll be there, and I don't think the children will be a problem.
The difference between what you described in Hanover here is the nature of the apartments. And you do have, the Lyme does attract families with kids.
I understand.
I mean,
but
there's
I
probably,
still-
of all the towns around, we attract more. So we have to be sensitive to that.
The children come in and they'll rent for how many years they need and then leave, and that is filled in by another family that rent. We have people who, well, as you mentioned earlier, right, local towns will just come here and rent a place, rent theirs or something, just to get the kids through. So,
They'll find a way, if they
Right.
wanna get
This-
into town, they will
right.
find a way. We should not define our lives
this is-
by this.
Yeah, well, this is not your problem. I mean,
Yeah.
I see, you clearly are out there to decide, how might you develop this property? What might make sense? Because you wanna make a buck out of it. I mean, I get it, and there are some in town for whom that's a dirty word, but no. If you're gonna go
Well,
and
and
do all
it's-
this work, you wanna get paid back, it's pretty simple.
Sure, and there's things about the building, you know, we've done a lot of improvements on the inside, so
Yeah.
the tenant base has changed dramatically over the last 10 years, I would say. And so, that's been good, but it's, you know, we'd like to not burn as much oil as we burn.
yeah,
And,
It used to be
you
a
know,
business.
Yeah, I know, yeah, well, you know, now it's, you know, we'd like to put solar up, but we're not gonna put solar if we're gonna, you know, because you gotta put a roof, you know, so that's what's kept us from doing any of this, so.
So I tend to be a little too direct, but if there are 2 or 3 things that we can do to help,
Yeah.
that would be, you know, I don't expect you to come up with them tonight.
Yeah.
But if you can help us understand what those things are,
Yep.
and we can figure out if we can help do them to
Yep.
make your path, you know,
Yep, it's good.
people are
Good
gonna
approach.
make up their own mind, but if there are obstacles that don't need to be there that we could possibly try to assist with, I think that's what we're asking.
Okay.
And also, I hope you would be prime people to be interviewed by our consultants.
Sure.
I mean, I think that would be really important because it would expand their knowledge. Is this something that you could send us?
Sure, yeah, I can email this around, you probably don't want these 19 pages, but this was, like I said, this is,
Actually, I would.
you want the paper?
I like looking at charts and maps.
Yeah, sure,
and
and it's
details.
aged, so the data is aged, so I'm not
Okay.
sure, but yeah, I'm happy to email it around and.
If you send it to Sue, she can send it to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, send it to,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have mine?
I believe I do, yes.
Okay.
And I guess that we've voiced our concern about kids.
Yeah.
Well, let us voice the fact that we wanna see something happen.
Yep,
And
No,
we're
and we
supportive
wanna do
of you,
something,
right.
And we wanna make it happen.
Yep.
We're very pleased that you're
Yeah.
looking at this. This is, fits right in with our thinking.
And we will all accompany you to the planning board.
okay. Yeah, Great.
Yeah, no, that's a support we need.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay?
All right, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very much
coming.
for coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
So I think it'd be great to, as Rick just pointed out, to have new people on the project and us and our side of it. It'd be an interesting challenge.
And, I mean, our challenge right now is to get as many different people with different views to feed into this whole, the consultant and the visioning sessions we're gonna have. And I think that this is you're a good addition to it.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Me too. I've met you before, but I haven't.
Yes,
I've
well,
worked
thank you.
in Hanover
Yes,
for
thank
well,
you. Okay.
I was,
You're good. Thank you.
I was with Dartmouth Printing for 35 years, so
Okay.
I've been retired for a while, so.
All right. Yeah. Kevin.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
I'll see you. Good night, all.
Thank you, Sue.
I think that'll be a very interesting association of people.
Yeah, and, we've just turned everything on its ear by being positive and welcoming. Sorry, Seth.
Right.
Minutes. Can we approve the minutes? How do you feel about them?
I read them, I didn't see any problem.
I didn't, nothing stuck in my cross.
And I wasn't there, so.
Okay?
That's fine.
Okay, let's,
Just publish.
motion to approve?
Motion to approve? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done. Now, the other thing is, Nils informed me that, I don't know if he's told anybody else, his daughter is running for judgeship in Ohio, was it? So he is switching his allegiance.
So
He thinks he is, he hasn't
Mhm.
done it permanently yet. But he may be voting in Ohio, so he can vote for his daughter, because they elect
Ah.
judges in Ohio.
Another peculiar custom.
Which, there goes another chair.
Oh boy, it's not been worked out too well for voting.
Electing judges, that's a bad idea.
Oh, boy.
That's
Anyway,
bad.
I won't go into that, We're not our problem.
We don't have to solve that one today.
So
Okay.
that's out there, I don't know
Alright.
whether he will be at the next meeting or
I've been
he
suspicious.
will check in, yeah. Well, that's his motivation, and I can understand that. So, I don't have anything else on my agenda. Anybody else have anything?
I'd like to get home and eat.
Oh, well, if we haven't eaten then, I already ate, so let's,
Just had a late
Adjourn?
lunch.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
So,
This is really
good.
I think it's very
Adjourn at
constructive.
7:40. How about,
I hope we can continue that discussion about administrative assistant,
town manager.
town manager,
Yes,
whatever you want to call it.